Hello and welcome to a BTC and altcoin update. As promised, I decided to upload a video to give you my thoughts on the current market conditions with BTC and more importantly altcoins. We're gonna go over a few charts. For example, the BTC dominance chart, as this gives us a clue where potentially we could be going. We're going to be heavily covering BTC. As with dominance being as high as it is, this will have a big impact on the price of altcoins if we see a further drop in price with BTC, or if we start seeing a reversal in the market. So I'm just going to go over the past few days of currently what was happening in the market. So going to take it back to about Friday. So Friday, I was expecting high. We had a lot of indicators showing that potentially we're going to see a move to take out this liquidity that has been lurking up here around about 72k. Also, we had these highs here at around 71,270. Again, these were untested. So again, there's a lot of liquidity here, and I was possibly expecting something like this. Maybe we have a move out, take out that liquidity, or even come up here and possibly look for that reversal down. Again, we saw the news events that unfolded over the weekend, and this inherently had a bad reaction on the markets. Given that traditional markets are closed over the weekend, the biggest impact was felt in the cryptocurrency market, as they are 24/7. So we came down, we took out that low, we saw a short bounce up, and then again we made yet another low, and eventually we found support on this daily level at around 61,950. I would say the only thing that I don't like about this level, for possible, recovery back to the upside, is that this low hasn't been taken out. Again, you can see this was slightly front run. Again, this doesn't mean to say that this whole reversal is now invalidated because we didn't take it out. Possibly we could have front run it, but again, ideally would have wanted to see this level taken out, and also previously mentioned about this level being taken out at 59,222, because we did mention, again, I believe this was on the stream, that we could be looking at this as a bigger range. Again, with this being the range low, this being the range high, and price would just simply trade within this range. Again, looking for the sweeps of the low or the sweeps of the high, for potential, bigger trade or bigger reversal. Obviously, if this flips into resistance, then you see a bigger move to the downside. If this flips into support, again, you start looking for, much higher. Again, I gave you targets of around about 75k all the way up to 78 or possibly 80k. So again, but where price action is, we're still very much just range bound. Again, we've been stuck in this range since the beginning of March. But as I mentioned, we hit this level of resistance. We started seeing the news outlets coming out with the news what's happening in the Middle East. We saw a move down. We come up fielding this imbalance, and then we saw another move down. Something that I do want to point out is the change in market structure that we have seen. This is going on the lower time frames, obviously, because if we do have a look on the higher time frames, again, this isn't a chart you want to be aggressively or super bearish on when you're seeing this type of price action. But if we zoom in to the 4 hour, this is something I believe is quite important, is that after forming this high, we came down, we formed a lower high, and then we formed another lower low. And we can even look at this attempt or bounce up that filled in this imbalance, another lower high, another lower low, and again, it's perfectly normal to assume that we could be forming another lower high before another bigger move to the downside. Next thing I want to do is pull up a fixed range volume tool. Again, this will give us a good indication where most of the volume has been traded within this range. I like to pull it from about this region when we entered here across. And one thing I do like about this price action we saw over the weekend is that we did break briefly below the value area low. But as you can see, we reclaimed it and we're starting to see it move higher. It's something very similar to what we saw back in March, where we saw this quite big decline. Again, this decline was much more than this decline. If we just take a quick measure tool from all-time high, let's just take a measure from all-time high here. This was a decline of around 17%. Let's have a look at this. So again, despite all that fear and panic, this moved down from all-time high down to around about 60k. Was a bigger move in terms of percentage than what we've seen here. But yet again, we saw a big panic in the market, people thinking to exit the market. And again, this brings me back to something I mentioned in the live stream. During this period here, when price was making all-time highs here, I had a lot of people that I do know personally asking me about what altcoins should they invest in. Should they buy Ethereum? What altcoin should they buy? Any meme coins? To me, this was an indication that potentially that a short-term or a local high was going to be put in. And again, we saw a big decline in altcoins. I mean, some altcoins have dropped 40-50%. Those people that wanted to get involved at these later stages in crypto now possibly sitting in a big loss, maybe even sold the crypto, and probably not going to go on their Coinbase ever again. To me, this was kind of expected, because I saw this traction or this hype beginning to build quite early in this cycle, in my opinion, and it was only a matter of time that we're going to see some bigger decline. If you think about it, the bigger whales, they don't want all these retail traders, if you like, making all these crazy profits, because they need to use them eventually as exit liquidity. So in my opinion, those tourist traders, if you like to call them, that just come to stop by or try to jump on the hype train, most of them, I would say, have probably exited the market. I mean, the market was very overcooked at that time. Everyone was just buy. It was meme coin hysteria. Everyone wanted to buy altcoins. Everyone was just making crazy amounts of altcoins. But again, it's something that we've seen time and time again in previous cycles. When there's a lot of hysteria and a lot of mania, this is usually when we get a correction, and you learn a very hard lesson that good times don't last forever. So anyway, back again to the chart. So we did find actually we did fall below the value area low. Again, this is something that we did see here. So we fell below the value area low, we break above, come back below, but then we can see once we got a nice reclaim, we saw a nice move higher. So it potentially was something that we could be looking at. Is we found some support on the daily, reclaim the value area low, and then again the next obvious target is the point of control of this entire range. Point of control does mean this is where most of the volume was traded within this selected range, and this is currently where we are finding resistance. If we're looking for any short-term upside, or what I want to see is if I zoom into the hourly chart. Okay, so we can see on the short term we've had this change in market structure. So we came up here, formed the low, we formed the high. Again, this is very local. Another high low, another high again. So this is showing us we've got a change in market structure. But in my opinion, this is the level of resistance I want to see taken out. This where we consolidate before, we saw that swift dump, if you like. And again, there's no surprise that we're recovering this, just because the move down was so quick. So the recovery, there's not much resistance. There wasn't much support on the way down, so there won't be much resistance on the way up. So what we need to pay attention to is what price does here. Ideally, I want this old range to flip into support, which will be, we come back to the 4 hour. I'll just clear this up, get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. And if I can just pull this slightly over, what I'd want to see is the point of control being broken above. Again, we don't want some type of fake out, but break above, close below again. So this will be a bearish side to me. What you want to see is for this to break above, and hold as support. So again, if we're talking about another rotation, so just like we saw a rotation from the value area low to the point of control, if we get another reclaim, again, exactly like we saw here, if we get another reclaim on the point of control, then ideally we'd be looking for the value area high, which is around about 71k. But just still want you to be aware that this is still a bearish market structure on the 4 hour, on the hourly, so we could just be forming a lower high. I'll be paying particular attention to what we do at the point of control. If we manage to break above it, again, we're still under it, so until it's broken, this is resistance, so we need to break above this level. If this gets reclaimed, then again, we're looking for another rotation to the value area high. Again, for the exact same reason, just like we saw this recover very quickly, just because we saw this dump and consolidation here. If we do reclaim this, I believe we can see a swift move up. If we move over to EXO charts, so again, we did have this bullish CVD divergence forming. Again, price was forming higher lows, CVD was forming lower lows. So this was showing us that people were still getting pretty much aggressive, trying to short within this zone here. Again, this was over the weekend, but again, we saw a push up. Likelihood that all these people that were trying to short the market here, if we do break above the point of control, I believe they're going to be getting stopped out and they're going to have to cover their positions, meaning to close out the positions, and that could give us that push up that we saw here. But again, resistance remained the same. Just like we said on Friday, we have a daily level of resistance at 71,600, and also this is where the value area high is located. So again, not looking for any new highs until this $71,600 is broken. Again, once this flips into support, like I said, then I'm looking for new all-time highs up to 75k, up to 77, 78k. Again, I'm also going to cover the bearish scenario. Like I said, this will be kind of the last point here, this zone here, where I would like to see the bulls defend, just in case this forms another low high and we just get another move down. Again, like I said, there is potential that we get some more news that can affect the market. So if we do see the news come out this week, this could drop the traditional markets, the stock market, increase the DXY. Again, you know, this has an inverse correlation with Bitcoin. And again, if we do see a sweep of this, again, to me, that will be another long opportunity. However, if you do see something like this, that we just straight break through it, no sweep of the low, and then again, to me, the only logical level of support is around this 52k level. Again, this is where we saw that consolidation before we saw that big impulse up. So again, there's plenty of support down here. So again, that's the scenarios I'm looking at for this week. I've given you the scenario to look for upside, and I've now given you the scenario to look for downside. Moving over to Ethereum BTC. Again, quite important. So it doesn't take a genius to look at this chart and to see and to still say that we're quite bearish still. However, the only positive sign I see here on the chart, actually I want to zoom out to the weekly, is that we did see this last low. Again, we can see what happened here. We had this low, we swept, and then we had that big push to the upside. Again, this sent the altcoins absolutely running over the past month or so. Then we saw that big decline. Again, we swept that previous low, and now we're trying to reclaim this level, this old range, if you like, of around at 0.04790. Going to the daily, you want this to hold. If this just begins to just roll over and this is just another lower high, again, this will be bearish for altcoins. At this point, you'd expect the BTC dominance to begin increasing and altcoins to absolutely dumping in the double figure region. So again, just be aware of that. Like I've been saying all week, with dominance so high, just trade with more caution in terms of altcoins. Don't get overexposed to any big altcoin positions. Just currently where we are on the ETH BTC chart and the BTC dominance, which I'm going to cover in a minute. I did mention there's potentially that we do see further decline in ETH BTC. We do have this, I believe this is a monthly imbalance. Yeah, we do have this nice monthly imbalance here. Which we did see partially filled, but ideally I would like to see more of this filled. Also do have this ascending support again that's been holding since November. Again, we can see we bounced off it multiple times before seeing that impulse move up. So there is potential that we do see this, and this again, I like this scenario that we feel more of this imbalance, bounce off here, and then actually that's when we see the next cycle for the altcoins begin. Again, that kind of falls in line that this move up here will take us into that 2025 period where again it's expected in terms of like previous cycles that we're going to see altcoins and BTC, you know, top out in price. So again, this is what I'm looking for in ETH BTC. Again, pay particular attention to that chart. BTC dominance, again, for the longest time, you would know that I've been targeting this region here. Again, I've talked about multiple times about this chart, what it means in terms of altcoins. And what I saw here, again, we saw that shorter term. So I'm going to show you how much this is respected in terms of support and resistance. You can see this old range here. Again, range, resistance, 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 broke above, flipped as support, and we saw that big impulse move up. Again, this is slightly front run my area of interest. Again, ideally I wanted to see, you know, that even push up higher. However, what we do have here, if I just move this up here, is potentially we've seen yet another retest, just like we've seen here. So again, if I just take this here, so again, there's a possibility that we've seen that break, retest, and then we see that final impulse move up to around 60% dominance. Again, like I said, old resistance becomes support, and old support becomes new resistance. So again, I'm looking for anything for price to even approach this green zone here. If we do even take it down here, we can see exactly why we got rejected around about this period. So again, this was old support and possibly new resistance. We come in here, possibly we're in for another impulse up. So again, just be prepared for that with altcoins. Don't get too aggressive with and BTC dominance chart looking as bullish as this is. Next up, I just want to cover ETH USDT. So we had this ascending support, we broke above, swept all these highs, and then we saw that break, back tested as resistance, and then we saw that move higher. So again, I like to see, again, in simple terms, again, you don't even need to look at this as a trend line. We can even look at this as a flat zone of old support flipped into resistance. So again, if I'm going to get more aggressive with altcoins, what you want to see is, again, this reclaimed. If we just pull a fixed range volume tool, again, I just want to take in this range here. Again, no surprise, this is where we've got the value area low. If I just pull a bigger range from where we topped out, see if we've got anything coming in here. Again, yeah. We had this value area low acting as support, come back down, broke above, tried to hold above, and now it looks like it's flipped into resistance again. So again, on the ETH USDT chart, not looking that bullish, to be honest. So again, this is not giving me much confidence in altcoins. I'll pay attention to this low here. But again, this is a chart that has seen a fast, rapid move up. So again, we can see pretty much since January, it's just been straight vertically up. We see this pullback and consolidation now, and then this is where I want to see this area reclaimed as support to look for any higher. Up to now, this is resistance, and we should treat this as resistance until reclaimed. Next logical level of support for me is where we've consolidated before this impulse move up. So anything between the lower 2000 level up to 2500 levels. So again, this is where we've consolidated really before we saw that big impulse move up. So again, from here to there, in my opinion, not much resistance was formed, so not much support on the way down. So I'm going to wrap up this video here because I don't want it to go over too long, because we're already at 20 minutes. I hope this will give you a better idea of how to trade the markets and what I'm expecting with BTC and Ethereum and altcoins moving forward. Again, pay attention to the BTC dominance chart, pay attention to the ETH BTC chart. Again, this will give you a clear indication. I've also given you the scenarios to look out for BTC, to look for higher, look for lower. So again, just to summarize, break above the point of control at 67,000, then I'm looking for higher. If we can't break above it, and then looking potentially to take out this liquidity here at 60k and at around about 59k, break below this, then we're looking for down here around about 50k. So again, hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know your thoughts inside the trading chat, and I'll see you on the next video.